Lyn Carpenter, since we last spoke, just about a year ago, what do you feel that Thurrock Council has achieved for the man on the street here in Thurrock?
So, really good question. There's a lot going on where we're trying to be much more focused on localities within Thurrock. Thurrock isn't one place. It's made up of a number of very special individual communities that are similar but very different. We've undergone quite a significant consultation, which we've called Your Place, Your Voice, because that's exactly what it is for our residents. And that's to get a sense of those issues which are really working well for local people, but the aspiration and ambition they have for their place, and what we can then collectively do to deliver and make that happen. In particular, in places like Averley, really pleased that we are now on the ground delivering the new community hub facility in Averley. And when I went down to the launch of that and spoke to some of the local residents, that's an issue which has been around probably for at least a decade, probably longer. And it's making sure we're not only saying we're going to do these things, but we're actually starting to deliver them on behalf of local people, because that's the only reason we're all here. So for me, the next 12 months is to build on some of these approaches. But I still don't think we've yet got our DNA as an organisation focused on everything that we do, we should be doing with and for our local residents. We sometimes think we forget, and whilst we've got a lot of technical knowledge and experience, actually the people who know more about their locality and what needs to happen are the people who live there. So for me, that real conscious continuing down that road is something that I'm absolutely committed to doing and improving on where we are at the moment. Because I think if you talk to residents on the street, Michael, they'll say things are improving, but, and I don't want there to still be a but in there, we've got to get to the point where we are delivering on behalf of local residents and they believe it and feel it.
And what about Purfleet? When will we see actually, groundbreaking ceremonies or just stuff happening? When's something going to happen?
So in Purfleet, there's already a planning application in for a very small first phase. We are on site, as you know, with the new Harris Academy, and in fact Lord Harris will be in the borough shortly to do the ground soil breaking on that. And for me, Purfleet is very much about the commitment we've made, which is not about just creating new houses, it's about working with the local community to deliver the infrastructure that will facilitate the growth of a community. So the fact that we're on site in the Harris Academy, there's a small planning applications in. The big outline planning permission for the whole of the Purfleet scheme is due into planning committee hopefully before Christmas. So I think that's a big commitment for local residents. There's been some challenges around that in terms of having to work with the Environment Agency's approach and possibly a new barrier at some point in the future, and we're talking 2070, so it's a long time.
So is a new Thames barrier a barrier? Is the question. Is that what you're talking about?
It may be, but we don't know, and there won't be any decisions by the Environment Agency until 2030. Nothing will start on site until 2050, and nothing will actually be completed until 2070. So as a community of Purfleet and the local authority, we're being asked to kind of future-proof the development to make sure that London and the Thames and all of us are protected, but that it doesn't stop delivering what we're doing. So we're very close to that with PCRL. It's not the council scheme, as you know, but we're an active partner in trying to deliver that.
I'm pretty sure I know where I stand when it comes to local plans, which is how, basically, again, for me, it's housing really, isn't it? I know there are other things attached to it, but I'm pretty know where I stand with Basildon and Billericay, Epping Forest, Harlow, East Herts, etc. But where exactly are we with Thurrock, and when is something going to be decided?
Okay, so one of the complications for Thurrock was the launch of the Lower Thames Crossing in April 2017, and that, to be fair, has put our timing back by about a year and a half, because we've had to understand where this thing may go, the size of it and the impact for local people, and as you'll know, we're busy trying to protect Thurrock, and our position remains opposed to it. In terms of the local plan, the Your Place, Your Voice was very much part of that conversation with local people about what do they see as the future in the place they live. We're at the stage with the local plan which is called Issues and Options. So this is where we're looking at sites that are coming forward to say, well, something could happen on this site, and we need to take a paper to council. It's a full council decision to then go out and ask the public what they think. So it's really early stages. It's absolutely there for local residents to influence what they would want to see in their locality. They've told us some of that in the Your Place, Your Voice, but we are hoping to be out to consultation literally within the next 3 or 4 months on the local plan.
When are you going to have any plans or strategy regarding Brexit? Because it's creeping up, isn't it?
We talk about it all the time. It's not something that's just going to hit us and we'll have to kind of go, "Ooh, we didn't know that was coming." We all know it's coming. We talk regularly to the businesses in Thurrock at the Thurrock Business Board. It's been an item on there for a number of months as a standing item. As a local authority, we're looking at the impact it may or may not have, and it's that kind of conscious tension between, well, what will happen and how much time do we spend thinking about something that may not happen. We know that there could be challenges in some of our services like trading standards and the impact on ports, for example, and customs. So we're already got plans in place for dealing with that, and we've been talking to the ports about that. As a local authority, over 80% of the people we employ are local people. So in terms of normal service delivery, we don't think that will be an issue. And I think we're doing everything we can to consider what that impact might be like, without actually knowing what the outcome of it's going to be. And I'm a bit of a pragmatist, really. We can spend a lot of time assuming what might come out of it, when actually we can be getting on and delivering for local people. So it's an eye on what might happen, it's the conversation with businesses, it's understanding our service delivery model and who we rely on for that, and taking an overview on whether or not we think there's going to be anything significant at this moment in time.
As you know, I run your Harlow as well, and Thurrock Council are mentioned in the Harlow Council meeting, which is always about 2-for-1 bargain for me. But it was to do with, I believe, a pilot to do with business rates, etc. And you just got the impression, whatever the Harlow councillors were saying, was it came across as Thurrock Council was almost out of tune with all other councils in Essex, and almost like you're a maverick council.
I wouldn't describe us as a maverick, but I think what Thurrock is focused very much on Thurrock, and what's right for our local residents may not be right for other boroughs. And I think we're very much a partner in South Essex, which is part of the work we've been doing with the 7 authorities in the South Essex corridor, and pilot business rates is part of an initiative that the government is looking at. We firmly believe that our right partners and our right economic corridor is South Essex. So anything at this moment in time which takes us beyond South Essex isn't something that we see as a priority as it stands. So we've not said no to being involved in any pilots with business rates. We wanted very much to be part of a South Essex one, but that's not our decision on our own, and it depends on what other local authorities want to do. So I think the comments probably didn't quite reflect the reality on the ground.
And I should really ask him this question, I guess, but it's a bit camera shy. John Kent asked the leader of Thurrock Council about the Select meetings, about non-attendance, and his answer was quality, not quantity. Does everybody else in Thurrock Council, your employees, get that opportunity to say that? Say, oh, I may not be turning up to work Tuesday, but it's quality, not quantity.
Well, I think
what message do you think that might send out to your employees?
I think it depends on how it's interpreted, and what's said in the council chamber by politicians is their prerogative, and I would never comment on that. I think we don't worry about whether people are sat at a desk. What I'm concerned about is outcomes for local people. So we have a culture in the organisation which is about flexible, smart working, and a lot of our staff shouldn't be in this building because actually their role is to be out in the local community. We're doing so much as an organisation, it's not possible to get to every single meeting that you're invited to, and we do need to be picky on behalf of our local residents and be focused on what we think the right partnerships and meetings are with the limited time we have to deliver the best outcomes.
Have there been then flexible smart workers? Because there was a time when nearly every day you were telling people that there was no bin collections, etc., etc. And I sort of, if it walks like a go slow or work to rule, if it smells like a go slow, it looks like a go slow work to rule. Is it? Was it?
I think, again, interpretation is always really interesting. Our waste operatives are some of the hardest working we have. There are services which we provide where there isn't flexibility in terms of timing in that regard. And in September, I think our collection rate on bins was 99%. So there is never an authority that, for a whole range of different reasons, hits 100% on the waste collection service. It's our ambition and it's what we're aiming to do, but actually the service is improving all the time. We're getting a very stabilised workforce down there. We have our challenges like everybody does, but I wouldn't hear a word said against the waste operatives. I think they're some of our hardest working, most effective team that we have.
I've got a feeling it's not David Finch's Essex County Council, and I get a feeling it's not Brian Keane's Harlow District Council. But do you feel there's a danger of this having become Lyn Carpenter's Thurrock Council?
Really interesting question. I don't know. You'd have to ask other people about that. As Chief Exec, I'm responsible for delivering the services on behalf of local people. It's not my council, it's local people's council. We're here to serve them. And as I say to every person who joins at the corporate induction, we are here as public servants, and anybody who is here today who doesn't think they're here to serve the residents of Thurrock are frankly in the wrong organisation.
But it's not Rob Gledhill's name appears in the editorial of the Times, or Rob Gledhill's name appears in Private Eye.
I think it does in some of them.
All right. And how did you feel about that, appearing in the Times and the Private Eye? Do you feel there's a danger, a bit like when Alistair Campbell quit as Director of Communications, said, when I become the story, that may be the problem. Do you feel in a similar vein?
I think the story has run its course to some extent. I think we've moved on from that.
That's not necessarily your call.
No, it's not my call. But I am more interested in what we're delivering on the ground than what some people may say in local publications. I think if you find a chief exec in the country who hasn't been subject to some of that, I'd be really surprised, to be honest. My ambition has never been to be the person in the newspaper, and you would struggle to find most events where you would see pictures of me, because that's not what I'm there to do. I don't seek that out, nor do I think that's part of the success story.
Does it upset you, though, to be called, described in Private Eye by dim-witted? Did you pick up the phone to them, or did you just shrug it off?
You know, I suppose you have broad shoulders in many ways when you're dealing with really challenging subject matters, and I guess I shrugged it off. And my philosophy has been that I was brought up to believe in, which is that people will judge me as they find me. If I wasn't delivering, then I'm sure there would be, I would be held to account for that. And I'm sure if my team didn't think I was doing the right things on behalf of them, a lot of them who are local residents, I would hear about it in that regard too. So, do I worry about it? No, I don't worry about it. Do I want to be in the newspapers? Not particularly. It's not what I'm here to do. The only stories I want to see are the ones where it says, we as Thurrock Council, in partnership, because I believe it's a partnership with all our elected councillors, all 49 of them, are doing what residents want us to do collectively. That's the success story.
Some residents are being shipped, I believe, being shipped out to places like Slough and Kettering because of homeless problems. That's not a great situation to be in, isn't it? What's your message to the people now who are being shipped out?
Well, I'd like to know who's saying that and where they're being shipped to allegedly. It's an interesting take on the facts and the matters. I don't think it's any secret that all local authorities are dealing with the pressures of increasing homelessness. We are absolutely committed to doing as much as we can do to keep people locally in Thurrock, because people have jobs here, their children go to school there. It's an absolute focus. On the occasions that we may have to look outside the borough, it's done in partnership with the individuals. It's not something we aspire to do, and we continue to look to build more housing for the purpose of keeping Thurrock people in Thurrock where they want to be.
It's November 2018, looking forward to 2019. What are you looking forward to in 2019 regarding Thurrock Council?
Part of what I said at the beginning, which is about that whole DNA of the way we do business on behalf of and with local communities. Certainly working more in partnership with representatives through the CVS and the business sector, because what I see a lot of, Michael, is that it doesn't matter whether you're a business, a voluntary sector group, or the local authority here, we're all here for one purpose, which is how do we make sure that Thurrock is the best place it can be for local people now and in the future.
Brilliant. Lyn Carpenter, thank you very much.